the prime objective of today's session is to understand how to develop your conceptual framework for a quantitative based research. So before that, we have to understand the type of the basic variables or the type of the main variables or the type of the key variables. Okay, right. So please understand today's prime objective is to explain how to develop your conceptual framework, right? So this is the definition of the variable in the theoretical manner. So you don't have to worry about theoretical manner. The definitions are given here. But I am going to discuss how it is defined in a practical scenario. The types of the variables, the main type of the variables, we have four key variables. The first is dependent variable. Dependent variable means your research interest. In theoretically, it is called dependent variable, but practically, when you operate in a practical scenario, it is called your research interest. For example, your firm wants you to investigate the satisfaction of a bank customer, right? In other words, you are asked to identify the factors affecting to the satisfaction of a bank customer, right? Now your topic is there. Now please tell me your dependent variable and your independent variable, both are there. Yeah, your dependent variable is satisfaction of a bank customer. That is your dependent variable, but you are not going to say it is my dependent variable, it is my research interest. And in your left hand side, you are having the factors affecting or the key factors, those are called independent variable. Theoretically, but practically, you are calling them as my factors affecting or the key factors. Now you already got an idea about the dependent variable and the independent variable when they come into the practical scenarios, right? Okay. So this is what I have clearly given here. Okay, now we will take a small model, right? So this is a very small model. So DV and IV. So DV is a salary. The salary means your company wants to investigate the salary of your employees. So the dependent variable or your research interest is investigating the salaries of the employee. That is your dependent variable. But you are not going to say that is my dependent variable. Right? So in the classroom you can say, but when you go to a management meeting or wherever, then you have to say like that. So your independent variable is the factors affecting. So for example, factors affecting to the salary of a particular company employee, there are so many factors. This is only one factor. So I have identified one factor, but other than this, there are some more factors. So please understand that. For the simplicity of explanation, I have selected only this factor, right? Now you can see very clearly. So this is your dependent variable, right? This is your dependent variable and this is your independent variable. Okay, so please understand the difference between the dependent variable and the independent variable and the practical definition, the practically how you define it. My research interest is my dependent variable. The factors affecting are called independent variable. Okay, now you understand this simple model. This is a very, very simple model. So please understand, other than this work experience, there are so many factors that you have to select, that you have to identify. This is just for the simplicity of the explanation, right? Okay. Now let's move. Okay. So the types of variable continuation. Okay. So the dependent variable, now I have already explained about the dependent variable and the independent variable. So what is the next one, right? Also, what is the next one here? Please understand. So I have identified only one variable. There are some other variables, right? There may be 5, 6, 7, 8 like that. So you don't have to worry about all are independent variables, all are factors. But remember, you are at a time you are taking only one dependent variable, one research interest, right? Okay. Okay, so the type of the variables continue, right? What is the next variable? Now we have already discussed about the dependent variable and the independent variable. Next is moderating variable. So what do you mean by moderating variable? This is a little bit theoretical, little bit technical, so you don't have to worry about that. Yes. Okay. So here at the right side, you are having your dependent variable. So this is your dependent variable. Okay, clear. Right. Here in this side, you are having your independent variable. That means a factor. One factor, two factors, so three factors, no issue. In this case, only one factor, right? So now you are going to measure the relationship between the work experience and the salary. Okay. So this is your direct relationship. And you have another variable coming in between, but coming from the outside. That is called a moderating variable, which means this moderating variable sometimes trying to improve the relationship between the work experience and the salary. Sometimes trying to strengthen the relationship between the work experience and the salary. Sometimes. Or else sometimes this gender or this moderating variable or this third variable is trying to weaken the relationship between the work experience and the salary, or otherwise it tries to reduce the impact of the work experience on the salary. So that's called moderating variable. So this is a gender, right? So is it a moderating variable? How do you explain it? How do we understand? Yeah. So in Sri Lankan context, right? In Sri Lankan context, as you know, the salary of a men is normally higher than the salary of women for the same work. For the same work. So that means gender is a definitely a moderating variable in this scenario in Sri Lanka. When you go to other countries, I don't know. When it comes to the executive level, that may be different. But I mean that when you compare some low level works, for example, some casual works or labor works, so the men are getting more salary than women in Sri Lankan context. So that is definitely a moderating variable. So what are the other moderating variables here? Age, education, salary. So what do you mean by age? Ages can be categorized between 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, and above 40 can be categorized. Can be categorized, and gender can be categorized into normally, officially, men and women officially, right? Don't think about the other things officially, right? Can be categorized. And the other one, education level, yeah, definitely doctoral level, master level, graduate level, or the diploma level. That could again be categorized into the levels. So those kind of moderators are called categorical moderating variables. So please understand that. Now you come to this side. This side again. This is your dependent variable or your research interest. The firm or your organization says you to find out the purchasing intention of a garments or the clothes or the whatever. Purchasing intention of garments or the clothes. Right. So what are the factors? Affecting factors means independent variable. Yeah. Then you will have to find out. They have found out this as a one factor, or else this as a one independent variable. Okay. Go to the literature, right? And what is this one? Right? So now this is a definitely a independent variable or the factor. There are some other factors as well, right? But this one again, the third variable is trying to improve or reduce the relationship between the product design and the purchasing intention. In other words, this moderating variable is trying to increase the relationship between the product design and the purchasing intention, or trying to decrease the relationship. Okay, so please understand that very clearly. Now I have already told you about the moderating variable. So what kind of moderator this is? What kind of independent variable this is? What kind of dependent variable this is? This is very important, right? So this moderator, you can't observe it, you have to measure it. But this categorical variable, you can observe whether it is male or female, and their age category, their education category, you can observe. But this one you can't observe, you have to measure it. You have to measure it. So this one, can you measure it straight away, directly? This one, can you measure? What about this one, salary? Can you measure? What about work experience? Can you measure? What about gender? Can you observe? Yes, observe. So these are measurable straight away directly. So remember, salary and the work experience are straight away measurable. But when you come to your right side, when you come to this side, so this purchasing intention cannot be straight away measured. What is the scale you are going to use to measure this one? What is the scale you are going to use to measure this one? And similarly, what is the scale? No. So if you want to measure the weight, then you can use a scale. So if you want to measure something lengthy, then you can use a ruler. If you want to measure temperature, you can use a thermometer. But for this, you don't have a standard scale. For that, you have to use a Likert scale from 1 to 7 or 1 to 5. That will be discussed in the next session. Okay. So please understand, these variables are unable to be measured straight away. So you have to use the Likert scale. So please understand that point very clearly in this time. Right. Okay. Now let's move on to the next variable, next and the final variable. Right. This is a mediating variable, so I'm not going to explain the theoretical stuff. Mediating variable means, again, the variable comes in between, but this time it is within the system, within the model. Last time also it came in between, but last time it was outside from the main model, but this time it is within the model. Okay, so what is this one, right? You can understand. Yeah, your research interest this time, right? I am not going to say my dependent variable, independent variable. Now you must be knowing that. So this is my dependent variable. So uh, this is my dependent variable, and this is my independent variable, right? In other words, so this is my research interest. My research interest is to investigate the child reading ability, and what are the my independent variable is what are the factors affecting to the child reading ability. Only one factor here has been identified as a factor, as an independent variables, that is socio-economics. There are some more variables you have to identify through the critical literature review, right? Okay. So this is my research interest, or this is my DV or dependent variable. So how did you understand this as your factor? That's the key. That's the key. That's what you have to understand. The first key thing you must remember. So when you develop your own conceptual framework, your independent variables or your factors must be taken from the critical literature review. In other words, you have to find out these factors from previously done researches, from other authors, from other journals. They must be validated, right? So please understand, here I have taken one variable as my factor, that of course I have taken from another research. Sometimes I know this is a factor. Sometimes I know and you also know, but we can't say like that. We have to take from someone else's, giving due reference to them, right? So that's how you have to select your independent variable. Okay, please remember. But your dependent variable, that is given to you because your firm wants you to investigate the child reading ability. So that is already given to you. But the factors you have to check through the critical literature review. So please understand, this is the first point you have to remember when you want to develop your conceptual framework, how to identify your independent variables through the critical literature review. Okay, right. That's okay. Now, when you come to this right side, right? Now, when you come to this right side, okay. So this is your mediating variable. What does that say? That means Now you are supposed to investigate the relationship with the presence of parents and without the presence of parents. In other words, you want to investigate what will happen to the child reading ability when the parents are in between, and when parents are not there in between, what will happen to the relationship. Okay, so what will happen to the child reading uh, ability when you are when you are investigating against the socio-economic state, right? So this is your mediating variable. Now I will tell you how to assess the mediating effect, right? Okay, so this is your direct effect, right? So that means no parents are there in between, almost similar to your basic model, right? No parents. So right. So this one is parental education is also there. You have to investigate that one. That means now you have to investigate the child reading ability when when the parents are there and when the parents are not there. Okay. So now in the research you have to understand, right? So normally in Sri Lanka or in any country, there is a belief that, especially in Sri Lanka, there's a belief that when the parents are educated, the kids are also studying well. That's a belief, long held belief. But that is not a research finding. Here you are going to prove that through the research. Okay. So now what is your research? You have to investigate this independent variable or your factor, only one factor identified for the time being, the impact of the socio-economic status on the child reading ability, directly and indirectly through the parental education level, right? Okay. Now we have to measure this one. So if this effect is not significant, right? If this direct effect is not significant, that means we can say fully mediation. That means, so this is your fully mediation. That means definitely the parents need to be educated. Then only kids are reading well. So that is what is called fully mediation. You understand what I'm telling you? That means this direct effect is insignificant. In other words, it is not prominent. For example, if you take 100 students, only one or two, three people can study well without parents. 98, 97, 95, up to 95, they need their parents to be educated, then only they study well. So that is fully mediation. So what do you mean by partial mediation? Partial mediation means even though parents are educated or not, kids can read well. That means both paths are significant. This path is also significant. This path is also significant. Maybe not equal. For example, 80% of students are studying well when the parents are in between, in middle, and only 20% are studying well even without the parents' presence. Right? That is what is called partial mediation. So you don't have to worry about these things when you are doing your research. You may understand these things, right? So what is the no mediation? What is the no mediation? No mediation means, again here, this direct path is significant or prominent. This indirect path is insignificant. That means the parents' education is not necessary at all. Not necessary at all. The kids are studying well without parents presence or not. They study well, no need at all. So that is no medium. So we will, when we are investigated practically, you will understand these mediating effects. Okay, up to that point. So please remember the mediating effects of full mediation means indirect path is significant, direct path is insignificant. Partial mediation means both paths are significant. No mediation means indirect path is insignificant. Right? Okay. So we will move to the next slide. Right. Okay, the conceptual frameworks. Okay, now we came to the conceptual framework. So what is the meaning of the conceptual framework? Yeah, here the factors affecting to the purchasing intention of the hybrid vehicles. Again, I am telling you the factors affecting to the purchasing intention of the hybrid vehicle, right? So what is your research interest or the DV? The purchasing intention is, this is my DV. It is already given, right? It is already given. This is my DV. It is already given as my research interest. But other than this research interest, no any other variables were given to me. So I will have to understand the factors or the key factors affecting to the purchasing intention of the alternative fuel vehicles. So these key factors have to be identified from where? Through the critical literature review. There may be lot of factors so that you have to understand initially and then you have to shortlist it, right? So please remember that. So you this is a key. So when you develop your own conceptual framework, you must understand all these factors and then you have to shortlist. Okay, you have to shortlist, right? So now this is your mediating variable. So it's a new. As I told you, this is something like parental presence in those simplified model. So this is a little bit newer. But how did you get this one? Can you write anything as your mediator? No, you can't. You have to review literature critically, and you will have to bring this kind of mediator variable from a similar research. I mean the similar research, not similar to the alternative fuel vehicles or hybrid vehicles. Maybe purchasing intention of a mobile phone, and they have used attitude as a mediator. So you can simply say that this mediating variable was taken from that article because they have tested this as a mediating variable. Similarly, whatever the variable other than dependent variable, when you develop your conceptual framework, you have to bring from previously done, validated researchers, right? Validated researchers. And this is the next one, the final one. It's a moderating variable, right? This is a continuous type. Why? You can't observe it. No, this is not a gender, this is not education, this is not a education level. This is a similar to purchasing intent. You have to measure it. How you have to measure? You have to measure Likert scales. So be careful when you are doing your researches. You have to have the measuring instruments for all these variables. I know and you know we have to use a Likert scale, but where are the scales? So you should have. So when you select your variables from previously done articles, remember and make sure to check whether they have already written their measuring instruments to measure these constructs. Otherwise, you are in trouble. I will explain that in my next session. So please understand how to develop your conceptual framework. And also, here I have to tell you one thing very clearly here. There's a one relationship called H2. Here there is another relationship H1, H4, H5. You can see. So there are a number of arrows. Each and every arrow should be empirically and theoretically supported. Please remember that one. It's a very important point because otherwise, how did you develop your this box? You can't do it. One may develop this model, another one may develop another model. You can't do like that. You keep on developing models. Whatever the model you are developing should be theoretically and empirically supported. For example, so this independent variable to this mediating variable, you are drawing an arrow. How did you draw arrow? Is there any relationship between theoretically and empirically? There should be. There should be early done researches to connect these things. From here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here, there should be theoretical and empirical supports. Sometimes there may not be supportings from all the ways, but then of course you have to justify that, right? Because you can't say that, no, I didn't get the articles for this one, or you can't say, because you read only the English articles, basically. There are a lot of researches done in Chinese, written in Chinese, written in Japanese, written in Indian, written in Sinhalese, written in French. But you are supposed to read only the English articles. So you don't say that I didn't get articles. But in case if you didn't have enough articles to justify your mediator, but you believe that there is a mediating effect through your intention, through your intuition, through your experience, right? You think that there is a mediating effect this particular variable. So in that case, you have to discuss with supervisor, or you have to discuss with some known papers, and then you have to apply your own methods to measure that one. That is okay. It is acceptable. But basically, whatever the variable available in your model should be empirically and theoretically supported. What do you mean by theoretically supported? Yes. So that means to connect this variable to this variable, the arrow, there are some theories. For example, theory of planned behavior, right? Theory of reasoned action, so like that, there are so many theories. You can't say that there are no theories. There are number of theories, hundreds of theories, right? So you have to bring some very close to theory one or two. Sometimes one theory may not be sufficient. In that case, you have to bring two theories. Okay, so that's all about how to develop the conceptual framework. So please understand. If I am summarizing, so in order to develop your conceptual framework, you have to bring you all your variables to the critical literature review. Okay. So that's all about this conceptual framework development. So we will meet in the next session how to measure these variables. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope that this session will helpful you to understand how to develop your own conceptual framework. Okay. Thank you very much.